batteries are good on it. What's happening?
Okay. Now it's running. So
Now it's running.
you can
I'll start again.
Repeat it. Yeah.
excuse me.
I do.
Yeah, that was a great
I actually
answer.
would
It
like
will never come again.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, we have some. Okay.
it.
No,
Okay,
it's
let's do it
fine.
again. Okay, so
Okay.
this is take 2, James.
Hi, James.
Okay, welcome to another Up Close and Personal, and today I've got the wonderful Benny Greb with me. We're out in California, in Benny's hood, while we're out here, you know.
That's
So Benny, I have some questions for you.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do that again actually because
No, that's great. That was great. What are you
don't
talking
like
about? That's
Let's do it.
amazing.
So I'm doing it again. Okay, ready?
That was great.
Okay.
I love that. In Benny's hood.
I'm going to do that. But take 3. Here we go.
Okay.
Sorry, James. Take 3. So, welcome to another Up Close and Personal, and this time we've got the wonderful Benny Greb. So, thank you, Benny, for joining me.
Big pleasure.
We're out in California in your American hood. Okay. Palm trees. We've moved in especially for this shot.
Yeah.
So, let's get serious for a minute. You got your
What?
serious face on? Okay.
I'm not sure if I can, but let's try. Let's try.
How tough was it at the beginning, before you became a professional musician, achieving that goal?
Toughness is a word that I think musicians and artists like to throw around. I think you have to have 2 ways of toughness. We sometimes get very precious and nonsense-ish about it because was it tough? Was it sometimes hard work? Did I have to practice much? Yeah. Is it tough compared to working in a coal mine? Or, I mean, get out of here. You know, it's like, it's a privilege and a pure luxury to be able, and to, that I could do what I wanted to do. I never had a proper job. I always was able to somehow do something with that. My parents supported me. I sometimes had to fight for that support. They wanted to see if I'm serious, but actually it went pretty well because the odds were really against me and against that career. I grew up in a very small Bavarian village. There was no music scene. There was no connections. My parents weren't musicians. So I really had to kind of find this way myself, but it was fun to find that way, and it actually worked pretty nicely, and it was a very incredible journey. I was very lucky to get accepted to this school that I then studied in very early. So much stuff happened that I think in retrospect are just lucky things, and I worked a lot, but and I can see in comparison that a lot of the times I worked more than many of people in my age or colleagues or something. So I have to say that, but also I loved it, and I wouldn't have done it if it wouldn't have given me something. So
did you have to motivate yourself to practice new stuff, or was you one of those kids that just played as much as you could?
I just played as much as I could. I got obsessed with it, like when I was in normal school, and then so I didn't do my homework. I wasn't that good in school because I focused really on drumming. And then when I was accepted to study music at this, you would call it here college, but it was called Berufsfachschule für Musik.
Oh, right, that one.
You know that one?
Yeah, I know that one very well.
So that's, and then when I was there, I was like over the moon because I could actually do that full time. I thought it was the most amazing thing. And there were people like, this sucks. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is amazing. And so there were these cases where I figured out that the cleaning ladies, they went through the school in the evening and they closed the school and then they left. And then for example, I figured out when that always happens, and I was hiding in the cupboard. So they closed the school and I had the whole school for myself, and I never told that anyone.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if
This
that
is
was legal.
exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know if that was legal or if it could still haunt me.
It doesn't matter now.
But I played upright bass in the hallway, which sounded like a cathedral, right? I played drums. I could play on those Steinway because there was no one in the whole school there. And then in the morning, the cleaning ladies might find me somewhere in the corner, like
So
sleeping.
I just want to get something very clear though.
Yeah.
You're not endorsing breaking entry into
No, no, no.
schools to do your practice,
But
are you?
staying,
Just so you know.
but staying there,
Oh, that's fine.
that's something else.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What do you think is your most memorable gig, and why?
Most memorable. Um, there have been a couple. I'm very proud. There was this first gig that was very short term, like short notice, and it wasn't really clear whether it would work. I tried to put together my band for this little drum festival, and I thought a couple of times like, oh, this is ridiculous, this is stressful, because they had to get picked up in another town, gotten there. It was all like, wasn't really sure if it would work, and we didn't have time to rehearse. But then it just was one of those nights where, although you are stressed out of your mind, you haven't eaten, and there was no sound check, and like everything is like, you then start to play, and it's just like it plays itself.
Yeah.
Like you're not, like it just comes through you almost, and you're like, huh, you're listening to it yourself while doing it, and you are. That was a real blessing. It was the first like real moving parts gig that ever happened. That was just a magic thing. There was another one I played with the English band called Blue Touch Paper, and I mean the gig itself wasn't that significant but for me it was very significant because I was in a phase where I was criticizing myself very much and didn't get the balance between self-love and you know beating myself up, and it was a tough time, and I was about perfectionism and was in a dark place a little bit, and then I got this book, Effortless Mastery, from Kenny Werner,
Okay.
and he has these meditations. It's really hippie-ish, wonderful stuff.
Which I would expect from you, Benny.
Yeah. But I mean, it was beautiful, and there's a thing in there. So you listen to that audio thing, and he says like, let go of the need to play good. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? And I was like, this is devilish stuff. And then there's the next thing that says like, let go of the need to play music. I was like, what is this? What do I? And then I listened to it a couple of times, and it was incredibly, like it was the first time, or one of the biggest times where I actually got a pure detachment from, and don't get me wrong, this is the most important thing to me, but this other aspect of, it's just music. You trust that, and I was practicing that stuff so hard, the forms were very complicated. I was, and when I really got this concept of like, you know what? It was one of the most amazing experiences, was one of those other things where I could actually play, and I played things that I never played before, and it was really fun. And I'll never forget that. Sometimes when I get stressed out and too bogged down, I have to think of that moment, so that was very memorable. It wasn't the gigs itself, but it was more like kind of...
a moment, occasionally.
Yeah.
So do you find, I know you're quite self-critical of yourself, but do you take much notice
Not
of
in public, though.
But do you take much notice of what maybe people say on a negative, or at what stage did you decide, actually that is completely irrelevant, I don't need to worry about that?
I'm not sure if I reached that state.
Okay.
Don't
So you
worry about it.
still,
I mean, I believe in this communication that we have in social media. So where you can kind of get how the mood is of people and how they respond to things. I think there is a lot of truth in that. And even if some people like overreact and are very hostile and stuff, maybe that is not like 100% true, and that's not the voice of everyone. And so you can't, if you blow it up out of proportion, then it becomes bad feedback, because then it becomes uncontrollable. But it's sometimes nice to get a sting here and there and be like, oh, is there some... Because it only bugs me if someone like goes and says something bad. If it really stings me and I'm like, it only stings me because I agree with that to a certain extent. And if I do, then I have to work on myself.
Right.
And sometimes there is something that's just totally ridiculous. It's like, yeah, he could have played faster double bass. And we're like, that's true.
Yeah, but I don't
You know?
want to.
Yeah, I didn't choose it
Yeah.
there, and I probably can't. There are people who can play faster double bass, and I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
I agree with you, sir. Fine.
Yeah.
You know, so not every negative comment is a comment that I find bad.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so you've got a young Benny Greb in front of you. What advice?
what
would
are
you
you
give?
what are you doing here?
Get a proper job. Go down the coal mine.
Coal mine.
What? Yeah. What would you give? What advice would you give?
Don't worry so much. You know, it's like we'll be fine. Like follow your heart. Don't question your intuition so much. You know, you won't regret trying out things. You won't regret messing up. It's fine to mess up, and it's only good when you stay at it, try again, and that never determines or that never like diminishes your self-worth if you don't get it right from the start.
Right.
And later in business, I would say like, don't get confused when you always have to argue business-wise and renegotiate your price, as we sometimes say in business, right? You have to negotiate. As an artist, you have to, if you offer a service that you do, not a product, but a service that you do that involves you, we sometimes think we negotiate our price, which can sometimes mean for us that we negotiate our worth as people, not as a service, but as people. So to have that clear from the beginning that, hey, if someone doesn't want to pay you a certain amount, it doesn't mean that you're worthless. It just means that you may be at a different point of your career, and maybe you haven't figured out how to package it properly, or maybe you don't understand enough what the other side really values.
Yeah.
Which is the thing of like these bands that say like, we are a great band. Why doesn't the pub? I mean, don't they figure out that this is the best band ever? Like, yeah, but the pub is not a charity organization to get bands up. They want to sell drinks. If you bring more people in and people drink more, and you can say like, but this is unjust and people should recognize, and that's all fine. But the reality is that it has to do with these things, and it often doesn't have anything to do with your self-worth.
Right.
And if the things are not as good as they should be from your point of view, you will find out that all the things that are not right and are still missing are things you can change.
Right.
And this is very encouraging, I think, because sometimes we're like, oh, this is horrible, you know, this is bad. I'm in a bad situation. Yeah, but all of these things you can learn, and this would be the last thing. Sorry for going on so long, but this would be the last.
Little Benny's gone to sleep.
He's like, oh God.
That's gone. I want to go lock myself in a cupboard until the cleaners go. Sorry, go.
Actually, that's what happened. I remember it. He's like, la 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 la. That's what I would do, actually.
Okay.
No, but I forgot what I wanted to say.
Oh. Well, I tell you what. We'll finish off. I'm going to throw 5 drummers' names at you,
Okay.
and I want you to give me a short answer what that drummer means to you.
Okay.
Okay. You ready? Steve Gadd.
Maybe my absolute favorite. Love him to death.
Okay. Was that a drumming thing or personal, or both?
Drumming thing.
Okay. Stuart Copeland.
Super important influence. Obsessed. I was obsessed by him to the point where I had to do a Stuart Copeland exorcism, because I played so much like him, or as far as I could, that I just I had to back away and find myself a little bit. A huge influence. Love him.
Okay. Hal Blaine.
Hal Blaine, I think, doesn't get enough credit, actually. Maybe some people that know about him will be like, how can he not be? But
I agree.
but if you ask people on the street, and I mean, Bernard Purdy did a better job in
Promoting
telling
himself,
people about
yeah, himself and health.
all
yeah.
his accomplishments, but a lot of that stuff like really should belong to Hal Blaine, and many musicians and even many drummers don't know who he is, and I think it's our job, and you do a great job at it, to change that.
Okay, very good. Tony Williams.
Tony Williams, incredible, very influential. Um, I, I, yeah, I could talk about Tony Williams forever. Incredible, incredible guy. Uh, he's one of those guys. It's not, if you say, I'm not influenced by Tony Williams, you don't know what you're talking about, because it's not possible to not be influenced by Tony Williams, because even if you don't know him and never checked him out, and you're young, or even if you're old and never checked him out, shame on you, then you were influenced by people who were influenced by Tony Williams.
Okay.
He's that kind of guy where there is no modern drumming without him.
Okay, a final one then. Ringo Starr.
The first drummer I think that I really knew by name, checked out, and tried to copy and play. I think, and also maybe some people would say, like, how can he be underrated? But I think from a drumming point of view, he's still underrated.
Okay.
Like from a composition, like arrangement,
Yeah,
coming up with drum
incredible.
parts,
Yeah.
absolute beautiful stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always, it's always fun to hang out.
Likewise.
And do this. So that's another up close and personal. I hope you got something out of it. And thank you very much, Benny Greb. And now everybody go and lock yourself into a school overnight and practice. Cut.